The cafeteria was noisy as usual, filled with laughter, clattering trays, and the smell of overcooked pizza. But all that noise faded into silence when a group of boys did the unthinkable. They poured an entire cup of red fruit punch over a girl sitting in a wheelchair. Her books, her clothes, even her hair were dripping wet. She just froze, her cheeks burning, her eyes filling with tears she tried so hard to hold back. Some kids laughed, others looked away, pretending they hadn't seen it. But in the corner of the room, a black girl stood up, her jaw tightening, her fists curling by her sides. She wasn't the kind to just watch injustice happen. She had only 20 minutes before class resumed, but in those 20 minutes, she made sure those bullies regretted every cruel thing they had ever done. And that moment would change not only the life of the girl in the wheelchair, but everyone watching too. Sophie had been at Jefferson High for only 3 weeks. Moving schools was always hard, but for Sophie, it was even harder. She was born with a condition that left her unable to walk, and she relied on her wheelchair to get around. Her mother had always told her, "Your chair doesn't define you, honey. Your heart does." But teenagers in high school rarely saw hearts, they only saw differences. At first, Sophie thought things were going okay. A few girls smiled at her in the hallways, a teacher offered to carry her bag, and she even found a quiet spot in the library where she could study in peace. But the cafeteria? That was different. It was a jungle. Every table had its unspoken rules: athletes at one, cheerleaders at another, nerds in the corner, loners against the wall. Sophie usually sat alone, picking at her sandwich, trying to finish quickly so she could escape unnoticed. But that day, she didn't escape. She had just rolled into the cafeteria with her tray balanced carefully on her lap. She always had to be extra careful. If the tray slipped, she couldn't just bend down and pick everything up quickly. She found an empty spot near the window, set her juice carton aside, and was about to take a bite when a shadow fell over her. It was Tyler and his gang. Tyler was the kind of boy who thought he owned the school just because he could throw a football farther than anyone else. His friends, Connor and Mason, were always behind him, laughing at every cruel joke he made. Well, Tyler smirked, leaning against her table. "Looks like the wheels finally found a parking spot." His friends snickered. Sophie's stomach twisted. She kept her head down, hoping they'd get bored and leave. But Tyler wasn't done. "What's for lunch, Sophie?" "Oh wait, you don't need to tell me." He picked up her juice box, shook it, and with a wicked grin, squeezed it hard. The red liquid splashed all over her shirt, dripping down onto her lap and her wheelchair cushion. Gasps echoed across the room. Sophie's hands trembled as she tried to wipe herself, but it only smeared the sticky juice further. The boys laughed so loudly it cut through the cafeteria noise like a knife. "Guess Wheels needs a car wash," Mason howled. Some kids at nearby tables chuckled nervously, others looked away, pretending not to see. Sophie's heart pounded. She felt trapped, humiliated, like the walls were closing in. Her mother's words about her heart, her strength, seemed so far away in that moment. She wanted to disappear. And then, there was a voice. "Enough." The word cut through the laughter like thunder. Heads turned. Standing there was Aaliyah. Tall, confident, and unapologetically fierce. She was new too, but unlike Sophie, she had a presence that filled the room. Her natural curls framed her face, and her dark eyes burned with fire. She had grown up in a tough neighborhood, raised by a grandmother who taught her never to let cruelty go unanswered. And right now, Aaliyah wasn't about to let Tyler's gang walk away unpunished. The cafeteria seemed to hold its breath as Aaliyah stepped closer. She wasn't just walking, she was commanding the room. Tyler's grin faltered for the first time. "What's your problem?" he scoffed, trying to brush it off. "We're just having fun." "Fun?" Aaliyah's voice was sharp, steady. She pointed to Sophie, who was still dripping with juice, her face red with shame. "You think humiliating someone in a wheelchair is fun? That's not fun, that's pathetic." A ripple of whispers spread across the cafeteria. Nobody had ever spoken to Tyler like that before. His friends shifted uneasily, unsure whether to laugh or stay quiet. Tyler forced a laugh. "Oh, so you're the hero now?" No, Aaliyah said calmly, stepping even closer until she was inches away from him. I'm just someone who doesn't stay silent when cowards pick on people who can't fight back. Her words hit harder than any punch. Connor tried to jump in. Relax, we were joking. She should lighten up. But Aaliyah's eyes snapped toward him. If someone poured juice all over your little sister, would you tell her to lighten up? Or would you stand up for her? Connor opened his mouth but no words came. The cafeteria buzzed with murmurs now, kids nodding, agreeing. Then Aaliyah turned to Sophie. She crouched slightly so their eyes met, her voice soft but strong. Don't let them take your power. You've got more strength sitting in that chair than they'll ever have standing on their 2 feet. Sophie blinked, tears spilling down her cheeks. For the first time that day, she felt seen. But Aaliyah wasn't finished. She stood again, facing Tyler. You owe her an apology. Now. The room went dead silent. Tyler's jaw clenched. Nobody had ever cornered him like this. His pride screamed against it, but the eyes of the entire cafeteria were on him. He felt the weight of judgment, the whispers growing louder, the realization that he was no longer the leader, he was the bully caught in the act. Finally, with a muttered curse, he spat out, sorry. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The cafeteria erupted in quiet gasps. Tyler, the untouchable football star, had been forced to back down. Aaliyah didn't gloat. She simply turned back to Sophie, pulled a napkin from the dispenser, and began wiping the juice from her shirt. You're not alone anymore, she whispered. Sophie's lips trembled into a small, grateful smile. That day, 20 minutes was all it took for the entire school to see things differently. For Sophie, it was the beginning of finding her voice again. For Aaliyah, it was proof that courage wasn't about size, popularity, or power, it was about choosing to stand up when no one else would. And for the bullies? They never looked at Sophie the same way again. Because one girl had taught them, in front of everyone, that kindness was stronger than cruelty, and true strength was defending those who couldn't defend themselves.